have spent significant amount of time with a great young president, Misha Saakashvili, and they showed solidarity with them, but also they're very concerned about the Russian threats to regain their status of the old Russian Empire. Now, I think the Russians ought to understand that we will support, we the United States, will support the inclusion of Georgia and Ukraine and the natural process, inclusion into NATO. We also ought to make it very clear that the Russians are in violation of their ceasefire agreement. They have stationed additional troops in Abkhazia and South Ossetia. By the way, I went there once, and we went inside and drove in, and there was a huge poster. And this is Georgian territory, and there was a huge picture of Vladimir Putin, and it said, Vladimir Putin, our president. It was very clear, the Russian intentions towards Georgia. They were just waiting to seize the opportunity. So this is a very difficult situation. We want to work with the Russians, but we also have every right to expect the Russians to behave in a fashion in keeping with a country who respects international boundaries and the norms of international behavior. And watch Ukraine. This whole thing has got a lot to do with Ukraine, Crimea, the base of the Russian fleet in Sevastopol, and the breakdown of the political process in Ukraine between Tymoshenko and Yushchenko is a very serious problem. So watch Ukraine, and let's make sure that the Ukrainians understand that we are their friend and ally.
Do you have a major difference with what he just said?
No, actually, I think Senator McCain and I agree for the most part on these issues. Obviously, I disagree with this notion that somehow we did not forcefully object to Russians going into Georgia. I immediately said that this was illegal and objectionable, and absolutely I wanted a cessation of the violence because it put an enormous strain on Georgia. And that's why I was the first to say that we have to rebuild the Georgian economy and called for $1 billion that has now gone in to help them rebuild. Because part of Russia's intentions here was to weaken the economy to the point where President Saakashvili was so weakened that he might be replaced by somebody that Putin favored more. 2 points I think are important to think about when it comes to Russia. Number one is we have to have foresight and anticipate some of these problems. So back in April, I warned the administration that you had Russian peacekeepers in Georgian territory. That made no sense whatsoever. And what we needed to do was replace them with international peacekeepers and a special envoy to resolve the crisis before it boiled over. That wasn't done, but had it been done, it's possible we could have avoided the issue. The second point I want to make is the issue of energy. Russia is in part resurgent, and Putin is feeling powerful because of petrodollars, as Senator McCain mentioned. That means that we, as one of the biggest consumers of oil, 25% of the world's oil, have to have an energy strategy, not just to deal with Russia, but to deal with many of the rogue states we've talked about, Iran, Venezuela. And that means, yes, increasing domestic production, offshore drilling, but we only have 3% of the world's oil supplies.
Я тебе буду славити за те, що гріхи ти простив. Часто ідучи, сил не мав, і в боротьбі я не стояв. Душі моєї всі думки знаєш лиш ти. Часто ідучи, сил не мав, і в боротьбі я не стояв. Душі моєї всі думки знаєш лиш ти. Очі переповнені смутком, серце плаче і сильно болить. Лиш ти розумієш, мій Боже, поможеш ти все пережить. часто йдучи, сил не мав, і в боротьбі я не стояв. Душі моєї всі думки знаєш лиш ти.
Молюсь я до тебе, мій Боже, душею, єством всім своїм, злязь і прости всі провини, дозволь вже будь сином твоїм.
Часто йдучи, сил не мав, і в боротьбі я не стояв. Душі моєї всі думки знаєш лиш ти. Часто йдучи, сил не мав, і в боротьбі я не стояв. Душі моєї всі думки знаєш лиш ти.